Boo! There you are. Boo! Where is Sam? Where is Sam? Where is that little man? Boo! There you are. There you are. Boo! Sam? Samuel!
I've been thinking a lot lately about the horror genre, film in particular, not just because I'm a fan, but because I'm kind of worried about it. It's just the idea of a filmmaker compromising their artistic vision or refraining from taking risks for fear of audiences disliking it concerns me. Now, I'm aware that this isn't an issue unique to horror. Every film genre has its formula, its familiar beats that filmmakers can either adhere to or deviate from as they please. But I find that with horror in particular, audiences seem to crave a certain level of excitement, and if this expectation of heart-pounding terror isn't met, they often leave the theater disappointed. I recently saw Trey Edward Schultz's It Comes at Night, which I enjoyed. The rest of the theater did not feel the same way. The second that this movie ended, several people saw fit to yell out some very interesting reviews. The first one that caught my ear was, what did I just pay for? The next one I remember was, oh, that was a shitty movie. And finally, and I swear to God someone actually said this, why was the dad white? Now, people are, of course, entitled to their opinions, especially when it comes to something as subjective as art. I would appreciate it if they didn't yell out their opinions as I'm trying to process what I've just watched, but such is life when you choose to watch a film at a theater. Even though I enjoyed this film, I can understand someone not caring for it. It's much slower paced than the average horror movie and leaves a great deal open for interpretation. Also, the trailer made it seem as though this was some type of monster movie, which it is not. So I can almost understand someone feeling as though they didn't get what they paid for when they were drawn in by a trailer that was an inaccurate reflection of the film. However, the exclamation of "that was a shitty movie" is something I don't understand. It's well written, well shot, and the acting is nothing short of outstanding. So even if you didn't care for the story overall, on a technical level, this movie is good. So I found the overly dramatic, shitty movie comment to not only be incredibly dismissive, but it kind of pissed me off. So at this point, I know what you might be thinking. Oh, I get it, you're into artsy horror movies? So are you like some kind of hipster? Well, as the proud owner of a record player that I enjoy listening to while using my coffee press, yes. But seriously, I love all kinds of horror, from campy horror comedy all the way over to the ultra-serious, disturbing shit that I tend to lose sleep over. There is so much that can be done with this genre, and yet the films that tend to make the most money very often use the same formula over and over again. Begin your film with either a family moving into a new home or with some teenagers doing some stupid bullshit. Insert jump scare. Have some supernatural occurrence take place that makes one or more of the characters concerned, but not enough to actually do anything quite yet. You have an hour and a half to fill.
The motion lights have been turning on and off every night.
Yeah, right.
Insert jump scare. Increase supernatural occurrences to the point where one or more of the characters sees fit to go to the nearest library or computer with the intent of finding out whether something bad happened in their house back in black and white times. Other variations for this point of the story may include having the characters contact a priest, psychic, or Vincent D'Onofrio to help them with their ghost problem. It is up to you whether to use this character for exposition or to immediately leave the main character's house to emphasize its demon content.
No. Serious?
Speaking of demons, make sure yours has an obscure or made-up name.
Deity? What kind of deity?
A very obscure one, dating back to Babylonian times, named Bagul, the eater of children.
Valak. Babadook.
If If you have not inserted a jump scare by this point, you must not want to make any money, pal. Have one or more of your characters either stumble upon or initiate direct confrontation with the supernatural entity by either performing an exorcism or using good old-fashioned teamwork. Make it seem as though the conflict has been resolved, but at the last second make it clear to the audience that it is not by using a jump scare.
I'm a demon.
Some other things that may increase the value of your film include a small child character who draws disturbing pictures, one or more of the characters being incapable of making a coherent decision.
Maybe it's Laura.
Jumping on the found footage trend while also including the word paranormal in your title. Putting a twist at the end. It doesn't have to make sense, just put one. And finally, edit your trailer to include night vision footage of people being scared of your movie. Now, I'm not saying that horror films that use these familiar plot points are inherently bad. In fact, there are many well-made horror films that use some of these tropes. It's doing all of these things time and time again while putting no effort into writing a compelling story, decent dialogue, or well-rounded characters is when your film is at risk of being a total dumpster fire. So, what makes a good horror movie? Well, first of all, any answers that I provide here are just my opinions based on my personal tastes and limited knowledge of film. And I'm aware that there probably isn't a cut and dry answer to this because it's a question that's highly subjective, but there are some things we can explore in order to gain a better understanding of the genre, and the issues that can arise from being more focused on making a product than telling a story. As consumers, we have a lot of choices as far as what we watch now because we can basically stream whatever we want digitally. So studios need to advertise their film in such a way as to convince people that leaving their home and spending their money on a movie ticket is going to be worth their while. That they are not just paying for a film, but an experience that they wouldn't get at home, and horror is the perfect product for this type of advertising. The atmosphere of a theater is ideal for upping the scare factor of a movie. The combination of a large screen, darkness, surround sound is a nice little delivery system for the modern day jump scare. A point that horror trailers sometimes like to drive home with the aforementioned night vision footage of people jumping out of their seats. Many times, these films are more like theme park rides than actual films, more focused on eliciting physical excitement than telling a compelling horror story. Feeling the need to incrementally jolt the audience back to life every 15 minutes with a jump scare, or else risk them getting bored and feeling as though they didn't get the all-out thrill ride that they expected. Now, I am by no means anti-jump scare. In fact, I made a video a while back focused on all of the reasons why I think the Ben Gardner's boat jump scare in Jaws is so effective and well done. There's a link in the description if you're interested. It's just the frequency at which they're used in mainstream horror is overkill. I'm also by no means anti-mainstream horror. I would consider Get Out to be quite mainstream, and it's hands down one of the best films I've seen this year. Watch it, it's really good. There are countless popular horror films that contain familiar tropes while overall creating something new and exciting. My issue with horror lately is how much of a product it's become and how kind of okay a lot of people are with seeing the same movie over and over again. I really don't like seeing this genre get put into such a small box. When I think about jump scares and my problems with them, a quote from Stephen King always comes to mind in which he states his distaste with the overuse of adverbs in writing. In his book, On Writing, he states,
"I believe the road to hell is paved with adverbs, and I will shout it from the rooftops. To put it another way, they're like dandelions. If you have one on your lawn, it looks pretty and unique. If you fail to root it out, however, you find 5 the next day, 50 the day after that, and then, my brothers and sisters, your lawn is totally, completely, and profligately covered with dandelions. By then, you see them for the weeds they really are, but by then it's too late."
Overusing adverbs shows a lack of confidence in one's writing. Probably why I use so many. Like, just now. This is how I feel about jump scares. They are the adverbs of horror films. They have their place if the occasion calls for it, but using too many suggests a lack of confidence that you can't keep your audience's attention without them. One of my favorite films of 2016, and now one of my favorite horror films of all time, is Robert Eggers' The Witch. I love this movie, and it's yet another film that I could tell that nobody else in my theater liked. I don't know why this keeps happening to me. Anyway, not only do I feel that this film is a masterclass in horror, but it's also a masterclass in subtlety. Right from the start, The Witch induces feelings of tension and uncertainty as we watch this family struggle to survive as they are oppressed by an unseen evil entity. Instead of relying on jump scares, this film focuses more on building suspense using clever editing and a haunting score. The incremental shots of the forest surrounding this family's home remind us of just how isolated they are, making the trees feel as though they are the bars of a cage. When this film chooses to show us a disturbing image rather than using a jump scare, it simply shows us. No obvious lead up, no loud noise, just a cut, presenting you with an image rather than forcing it on you. This is something that Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, another film about a family dealing with both isolation and the supernatural, excels in. The Shining doesn't really have any of what I would refer to as jump scares in it, but it does have a lot of surprises and a great deal of disturbing imagery, most of which is now iconic. How many times have you stayed in a hotel with an old-fashioned carpet in it and joked that you need to get into your room before the two little girls show up? The image of these characters has stayed with people for decades, and at no point do they jump out at you. In fact, many of the scenes featuring the overlooked spirits involve the main characters stumbling upon them, rather than the other way around. The Shining, like many great films, creates fear through suspense. When we are shown the infamous little girls for the first time in the game room, it is presented like this. This leaves us going, what the hell was that about? After this, there is an inescapable cloud of dread looming over the entire film. This scene shows us that terror could be right behind us or just around the corner, and we shouldn't expect to be warned about it prior. Also, Kubrick, being the detail-obsessed filmmaker that he was, made the extra effort to subliminally heighten this feeling of dread with small details that many aren't able to consciously identify upon the first viewing. This might be an uncomfortably quick pan of the camera, the TV being on despite having no cord, or certain objects being there 1 second and gone the next. The Shining is a confident film, taking the time and effort to draw out a moment to build suspense or using visual subtleties that the audience may or may not notice are confident moves. It shows that you trust your audience to follow you on the journey that you've laid out for them rather than feeling the need to cater to their expectations. And when your confidence is backed with competence, you can really create something beautiful. In Rosemary's Baby, after an entire film focused on this young woman's strange pregnancy and the slow build of her finding out that her husband has conspired with witches in order to impregnate her with the Antichrist, we don't get to see the baby. After all that, the film refuses to show us the child in which the whole story revolves around. I mean, the movie is called Rosemary's Baby for Antichrist's sake. But by doing this, or rather not doing this, it achieves a moment far more frightening than if it would have just showed us Lucifer Jr. This moment is totally reliant on Mia Farrow's performance as she reacts to seeing this child for the first time, and she is so horrified by what she sees that we automatically imagine the worst. This film took a risk by not showing the child, but by taking this risk, it created one of the most memorable film endings of all time, because it trusted that the audience's imagination could create something far more frightening than anything that they could have shown us. Now, you might not find that scary or compelling at all. What's scary to one person might be goofy as shit to someone else. The films that I have mentioned in this video are all films that I personally find frightening, all to varying degrees and for different reasons. But what they all have in common is that they are reaching for something more. They express a desire to explore what this genre is really capable of, and most importantly, their primary focus is on telling a good story. Because to make a good horror film, you have to first consider what makes a good film in general. Not very profound, I know, but that's really what's at the core of most horror films that achieve something truly great. It's that you care about the characters, you care about what's going on with them. When you have that type of connection to what you're watching, that amount of empathy for the characters that live in that world, it makes all the difference. You care about what they care about, and what scares them scares you. And again, I understand that these connections to art we have are personal. They're subjective, which is why I've rambled on about this for long enough, so to avoid this video going on for another hour, I'll just leave you with this. Movies are like people.
Some shine and some don't.